Hey, Liron here. Let's try and paint a masterpiece together. Check it out. I'm taping my paper to the screen.
Shh! Don't tell anyone I'm tracing.
Once I'm done, here is my sketch. It's quite simplified when you look at it. It took about 4 minutes or so to complete, and now we can paint it. So I'm gonna start by spraying a lot of water over everything and starting a mix. Now, sometimes I like to start with my focal point, actually quite often, but sometimes I like to go back to the background and just focus really intensely on one detail, which is this car. So the advantage here is that this car is small, it's very manageable, and I can simply take my time, bombard it with water, lots and lots of water, lots and lots of paint, and have something that is quite controlled that I can push in any direction I want. Sometimes, as I mentioned, I find it more inspiring to start with something that is more at the front. The trick, in my opinion, is to know yourself and be in touch with yourself and what you want to achieve. Are you interested in establishing immediate details and see the bigger focal point? Or do you want to carefully build things, maybe with a couple of washes, maybe starting with the background? It's all up to you, and it will change on a day-by-day basis. A big part of this painting looking right, and there is a lot to improve here, don't get me wrong, but a big part of it looking right is the use of reflected light. The ground is warm and is lighter than everything else, and what happens is it reflects light back to mainly the bottoms of the cars. So you're gonna see this in a couple of moments. But first, I decided to start with some foliage here to start framing it up. And surprisingly enough, I decided to also fill in those gaps with the sky while the tree is still being established. Why? I'm not sure. But often I'm asked about how to maintain flow across the entire painting. And some people obsess over that and have a really hard time because of that. Here's my take on this. Instead of worrying about having everything flow together, I like to focus on the area I am currently working on. So if I'm working on this building, I'm going to devote some time to make sure it looks right, which means if it was wrong color, I'm going to go back with another color and I'm going to develop it. And then as I move onto the foliage underneath it, I'm going to make sure, if I can, that they flow together. But am I worried about this foliage flowing with the car at the front? Am I worried about it connecting to the ground? No, I can only be worried in any given moment about so much. At some point, it is too much to handle, and you just get confused. Forget about that. Allow yourself the gift of actually being present when you work on an area and devote your full attention to it. Don't worry about everything else. Forget about it. By the way, if you want to watch a more uncut, full, showing all of my mixing version of this process, be sure to join Patreon and support me there because I'm going to upload it in the future. It's not yet there, but I will share it, hopefully narrated too, of everything, seeing all of the mixes. It's just that these videos tend to not do as well on YouTube, like an hour and a half long. So I prefer to share shorter versions here and save the longer versions somewhere where it's behind a paywall in a way you're more invested in it. Okay, so check it out, and thank you, by the way, to everyone who supports me there. Now look at this car, because it's a very interesting one. I love those plays of warms and cools, and I exaggerate them. So you see the right side's a little bit on the warm side, and then the left reflects the sky. And it's a kind of effect I really enjoy. Now, when you look at the colors, it's very natural to worry about mixing the right one. Is it the right blue? Is it the right yellow? But consider this. There are barely any truly bright and vibrant colors in this scene. The trash can, if anything, in orange there behind that car, it's a recycled trash can. That, I give you, that's a strong orange. But most of this is just completely muted down. Even the greens aren't that saturated. So don't worry about mixing a perfect bright color, because what you end up with, and I have to some extent with this painting, is a bit more amateurish looking colors that don't look natural. Instead, look at how gray everything is. Focus on mixing that gray and slowly pushing it very gently in one direction. So, is this gray a blue? Is this gray a red? What kind of a gray is it? Is it warm? Is it cold? But the overall framework is, it is gray. Okay? That's how I find the most success. When I can move beyond the illusions of me knowing that under perfect conditions, this blue Mazda is like really blue, but we're not under these perfect conditions. We're looking at it against the light in a sunny day with lots of reflected light from the scene. Nothing is as it seems, okay? Look at the bottom of this car at the front. Look at how it goes from dark to lighter. Forget about the tires for now, but the body of the car, the chassis, look at how warm it is. Now, I have exaggerated it, and I'm going to mute it down later, and in a couple of moments too, but later again, and push it more in the right direction, because right now it's too light, but it is lighter. And that's how I approach a lot of my paintings. I know I won't necessarily get it right the first time because I'm not a robot. So I put something on paper and I look at it, and instead of trying to get it right the first time, I use my comparison skills and ask myself, is this too dark? Is this too light? Is this warm? Is this cool? Should it be warmer? Should it be cooler? Based on that, I paint. And all you can do is your best. And beyond that, your level of accuracy will depend on your vision and experience and your ability to notice things, which will inevitably improve with time. Look at this car. I really enjoyed painting it, and it will show. So I put in some cools in the form of those blues, and I'm surrounding them with some violet. And I'm painting that tail light. And all of these small touches and small details are going to slowly compound into an overall impression. Notice these areas that are a little darker towards the corner of the car. Notice these beautiful abstract shadows on the side of it and reflections. These reflect the scene itself. You could, in theory, zoom in on this car and sketch more accurately every little abstract shape in the reflections, and what you will get is a reflection of the road and the cars and things around it. These are very reflective surfaces. Look at this red dot that I put there last. That really gave it some oomph. Sometimes a small touch gets all the credit, even though it's the shapes and the planning that lead to a good result. Look at all these small fragmented shapes. These get a lot of credit too, but the actual quality of the painting usually starts with the bigger shapes, with the overall composition. And I have an interesting composition here with a lot of details to the sides and then a smaller detail in the form of these two cars in the middle. And it's a bit different from my favorite compositions, and I might tackle this one again, by the way. Maybe change the composition a bit, and definitely paint it on cold press instead of hot press, which is what I'm doing here. Not because cold press is better, because I think for me and my technique, it would work better for this one. Look at this fast way of establishing temperatures. I put two warm shapes, and I wrap them in colder shapes. That's all it takes. And I'm not worried about this car flowing into the road or into the other car. All I'm concerned with is the flow of where I'm at the moment. And understand this. If you're unable to paint freely and really just execute upon your vision, your results will be highly, highly limited, which is why I strongly suggest you check out the Frustration Free Watercolor course. It's a course I created specifically for the problem of not being able to let go and solving that. So if you feel stifled as you paint, that's the one you want to check. And this is after many comments and conversations and insights I gained from you, my viewer. That was structured to help you with that. So once you're able to let go and paint freely, nothing is beyond your possibilities. You can paint hyperrealism. You can paint abstract. You can paint just representational art. You can do whatever you want. You can paint alla prima. You can paint more directly. Look at my approach on this top right side. It's way more abstract. Just catching the colors, everything merges together. Why? Because I want to contrast it with the left side that's very packed with details. Look at this, I'm pre-wetting so that I get a smooth edge there. If you want to be able to just use whatever tool and technique you want at your will, completely freely, completely with complete passion, courage, and freedom, check out the Frustration Free Watercolor course. There's a world before you study from it and a world after. And I do have in it one of my best demos ever. So check it out. Link in the description box below. If you're already in it, you might want to upgrade and add the Watercolor Realism course. Did you know that exists? Check it out too, because in there I have what is definitely one of my best demos ever. Absolutely best on the cover of my book, Painting a Masterpiece. So check it out. Thank you for supporting my work. Now let's get on with this trash can. That's the most saturated probably point of this entire painting, and it's a relatively small detail. Now look at how I paint this top right section just wet and wet. It's still wet. And I'm adding the darks. This is more similar to how someone like Mark Foley paints, who's an amazing painter. I'm not there yet. Not quite there, but it's more large area, letting the paint move freely and making it interesting and juicy and just good looking. The more I paint, the more I understand how important it is to just paint your vision and not be mesmerized necessarily but by what you're looking at, because that can take you away from your vision. There isn't one way to paint. There isn't a right or wrong way to paint. I think the only guiding North Star is your ability to paint what you envision. And the more you practice and the more experience you get, the easier it is, but also the freer you are. The more free you're able to paint, more freely, you'll get there faster and much more easily and with no struggles, which is why, again, you want to check out the Frustration Free Watercolor course. Seriously, it's one of the best out there. And it's $39.99. That's it. So check it out. There's a before and after, I'm telling you. And if you have any questions, by the way, about any of my courses or anything like that, just reach out to me. Ask me. You can find my email in the channel. I'd be happy to help with anything. So now it's time to push this shadow to be darker. This is a mistake a lot of beginners make. They don't realize how light their washes are. They don't make an impact. So if you feel like you're looking at a painting and you missed all the shapes, all the composition, you don't see it in your painting, put your painting side by side with the reference photo and zoom out. Make them tiny, like a really small thumbnail on your phone or on a computer screen. Look at the difference between the two. Can you tell in the reference photo all the large, prominent shapes? And then can you see them in your painting? I would bet you, in many cases, you won't. Okay? So something to have in mind. What you saw me doing right there is optimizing the trees in the background, adding a bit of red to them because they were too yellow and blue. I wanted to neutralize a bit. How you neutralize that? With a bit of red. And now we're off to the races with the final details. We have a two-step plan here. One, establish some of the medium to small sized shapes that we've missed so far. And 2, bring out any small details, more saturated colors, more opaque highlights. By the way, check out this beautiful pattern created on my palette, which means I definitely need to try and paint very wet and wet with this yellow and this red in particular, because every color will have a different flow pattern, and it's fascinating to try, and I think I will. So you see me adding small highlights that really improve the story told. I find that for me, I usually need to add these in the cool zone. Usually that's what I miss at first, and then I can bring back with this. So I have a permanent designer's gouache, which is permanent white, mixed with a bit of phthalo blue, a very tiny bit of phthalo blue. And this creates the nice feeling of cool highlights. And once I'll be done with these cool highlights, I'll complement them with dark shapes. And you're gonna see how the two work together hand in hand to create the impression. But this is all about small changes that finalize the painting. This step can take as long as you wish. I could, honestly, even after the finished version of this painting, I could grab my gouache set and just start scanning area by area and asking myself, is this too dark? Is this too light? Should I go add more details here, add more details there? Is this the right color? Is this an inaccurate color? And you can just do this over and over and over again, non-stop. And the thing is, it will depend on your vision, okay? So depending on what your vision is like, you may want more details. You may want fewer details. Check out my video on my first ever gouache painting. It's gonna give you a lot of answers about how the process of adding and removing details works. And that painting is a standout painting in my opinion, and I designed the small shapes and the colors and changed them and fixed them, and you can do this indefinitely. So again, your paintings are probably not ruined if you think a painting of yours is bad or beyond redemption. It's all about fixing all the mistakes. Sometimes that takes a bit of initiative and a bit of agency, which maybe you don't feel like at the moment, and that is perfectly fine. Look at this top of the tree. I'm blending it to show the sun pouring through it. Sometimes you won't be in the mood. That is perfectly fine. Sometimes you'd prefer to start fresh with a new version. That is also fine. There are no rules in art. You follow whatever your gut tells you, and that's an instinct. That improves with time. It's not gonna necessarily be there immediately. That is perfectly fine. So now we're gonna add that beautiful highlight on top of that car. I secretly have a project where the highlight is a huge prominent part of the painting, and you see all the rainbow colors in it that I hope to paint soon too. We'll see. Maybe I'll surprise you even with a video. But this is a great example of a painting that I felt very inspired to paint, and the result is good. It's not perfect. It is us trying to paint a masterpiece because I had a good vision about it, but it will definitely require some improvements. And what I think I'll do is make another version that is gonna be with no pencil lines, because I find that kind of a thing makes me even more inspired and better at catching the shapes and painting them as I see them. Here is the final result. I want to thank you so much for watching, and if you want to support my work, it'll mean the world to me, so you can check out all the links in the description box below. If you're trying to learn watercolor and you're struggling with freedom or realism, check out the courses. If you want to just receive credits at the end of my videos, which thank you so much for my patrons, be sure to check out my Patreon page and you'll get access to some exclusive processes too. And lastly, if you're in the market for a watercolor book, or you know someone else who would enjoy a watercolor book, just art book for inspiration, check out my Painting a Masterpiece book that features my 100 Cars challenge. It's some of my best paintings to date, and you'll own all of them, over 100 of my paintings in one small, nice paperback copy. So thank you so much for supporting my work, and I will see you in the next vid. Take care.